and Cara Csizmadia. You'll hear from special guests that focus on topics to help your business succeed, all backed by Modern Campground, the most innovative news source in the industry.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Perks, here as always with Cara Csizmadia from the Canadian Camping and RV Council. We're excited to have our first episode of 2023 focused on the RV industry and outdoor recreation. And as many of you who are involved in this industry know, this is a very busy time of year for all of these people on the show. There's lots of RV shows. Shane's going to touch on his show maybe a little bit, even though I didn't prep him for that. But I'm super excited to see how the RVA shows have gone so far. I think the Tampa Super Show just wrapped up last week. So if anybody was at that, or I heard some talk about the NTP show too, just kind of get a pulse on the sentiment of consumers and the industry as it relates to the industry. And so I'm super excited to talk about that today. Before we get started, I need to thank our show sponsor, CampSpot Software. I tend to always forget to thank our sponsors, so I'm going to try to remind myself at the beginning of every show, and hopefully my streak will be greater than 1 week in the future. But thank you to CampSpot Software for being a regular sponsor of this fourth week episode. For those of you who don't know, they provide some amazing campground and RV park management software for glamping resorts and all of outdoor hospitality really as well. So super thankful to them. And then the last bit of housekeeping before we get started is we're going to introduce this brand new segment here at the end of the show. For the last 5 minutes, we're going to talk about some future tech, some AI, some geeky stuff, and how it can possibly tie in and help your business in both the RV industry, outdoor rec, RV parks, campgrounds, stuff like that. So we'll have a little fun, but just the last 5 minutes of the show, it's going to be called the Camp Vantage segment here, which is a super secret project that I'm working on that will make sense to you all a little bit later in 2023. But for now, let's switch back to the RV industry. And who wants to start? What's happening here? We've got so many things that are going on. Do we want to start with Tampa, NTP?
Yeah, I'm keen to hear about how those shows went. We're on the verge of Alberta's shows actually starting tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm interested to hear.
Everybody was there? Who was there?
Well, Susan was at NTP, and so was Phil.
Yep.
So.
NTP Stag, and I also was at the Aero Distribution Show in Las Vegas. NTP Stag was in Denver. These are aftermarket distributors that supplies dealers and the aftermarket for products. And, you know, the outlook was great. The attitude for the dealers that attended was really, optimistic. As most people know, when things go a little bit more quiet on the OEM side and not so many units are being built, the aftermarket tends to pick up really well because people are now taking their RV and fixing the broken products or sprucing it up or whatever. So, but the attitude was really great. It was well attended. It was great to see our neighbors from the north attending again. So future looks bright for the aftermarket in 2023.
Yeah,
and I know Phil was there as well.
Yeah, I was there, and Susan and I were next door neighbors with our booth. So we got a lot of traffic and talked to a lot of dealers. I thought it was very interesting, some of the new technology that's coming down the pike for RVs, especially in power generation, as regulations on traditional fuel-powered generators start to come into effect in California and elsewhere. The industry is looking ahead on solar and battery-powered systems for RVs. And Cavins just announced at the Florida RV Super Show a new kind of hybrid battery system for their generation. So, things are going to be changing as we move forward, but the industry's got a lot of exciting new products to look ahead. We did have some people down in Florida for the Florida RV Super Show. I think they had their second largest attendance ever at the show. So there was a lot of good buzz coming out of there. And also we're hearing great reports out of some of the bigger shows in Pittsburgh, Boston, and Cleveland that were kicking off January. And I can't ever remember the industry looking at these consumer shows so closely. as we're coming off these big shipment and sales years in 2021 and 2022, there's a lot of interest to see, are the consumers still ready to make a purchase? And I don't know what you saw in Canada, Sean, but I mean, there's a lot of intense interest in what kind of show activity there is.
Is that from media, Phil?
Media and just the interest of the industry watching, what's going on, what's the demand going to be like in the displays, and our dealers going to be making sales.
Yeah. Consumer interest was very, very well received as well. I know a lot of them were still looking at units. A lot of people were saying they're still going out camping. So that was really great to hear.
Do we have a sense of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we've only had, really one show so far in Canada. It was last weekend, the Halifax RV show, which is a smaller show. Now, there was a snowstorm on one day, so the Friday was a little bit more difficult for people to attend. But overall, it went quite well. And the one dealer I spoke to, he had a lot of interest in park models and fifth wheels and motorhomes, which is interesting because, we were saying people were kind of shifting back towards maybe smaller units, but that seemed to be what he was able to sort of move and where his interest was. So it'll be interesting to see when Calgary comes up this weekend, as well as Winnipeg, to see what kind of interest there is in what product type.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, if you guys have a sense of what the consumer is more interested in 2023 and beyond, because it's very easy to say, and we all know that camping is mostly recession proof, and I stand behind that, right? But what type of camping people are doing, I think, might shift, in addition to the normal demographic changes and things that we're seeing in the industry overall as far as preferences go. So have you guys seen any of that change or shift, or have you heard about any of that?
I think it's...
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Phil.
One of the things that we saw at NTP Stag, and I've been hearing elsewhere, is the interest in kind of overland camping, where people are not hooked up to traditional campground things. And, whether that's a big trend or not, certainly it is an emerging trend as campers get younger and they're looking for different types of experiences, perhaps. So there was a lot of kind of overland equipment we saw at the NTP Stag show. And as that grows, that's going to have a lot of different kind of things for dealers and campgrounds to think about, and kind of what kind of offerings they have, and our dealers equipped to, number one, equip those types of campers who are looking for a kind of an unhooked experience, and number two, do the campgrounds have spaces that will kind of give that. And we've had some of those conversations on this program before about how the traditional campsites are evolving, where people are looking for more dispersed kind of campgrounds.
Yeah, I agree. It's the boondocking that, because campgrounds are getting filled up faster. So they're trying to find other ways to camp without having to find that needle in the haystack at times. And true to what you're all saying is about innovation in solar. Phil, you were there. You seen the huge crowd around the RV that was next to us. And what they were showing was an awning, and instead of fabric, it was solar panels. So you can, it would come out, and as it came out, it would be just nothing but solar panels on top, and then it would go back in when you're done. So, and it could run everything from your microwave, your air conditioner, and the crowd around that was incredible. People were really interested in this new innovation of how to hook solar. And hook it well to your RV.
How do you clean the awning if a bird flies over it, though?
That's a good question. I don't know.
The microwave doesn't work. What could it be? That's the last thing that I would think of. But
was it a number of solar panels, Susan, or was it one large one?
No, it was a bunch of small ones, and they were all hooked together, and there was space between it. So I was talking to the lady who kind of invented it. It was her company, and I was curious because you could see kind of through it in spots. And what about rain? She goes, well, it's not rain proof. Rain will get in, but quite truthfully, if you're an RVer, which I've always been an RVer, when it rains, you don't generally sit underneath your awning anyways, because if it blows, you're going to get wet anyways, right?
Mhm.
So what really you sit under your awning for is to kind of get out of the sun. And that would definitely provide shade. And what was neat about it is because there were some holes in it, spaces in between, is it was more wind proof. So now the wind it comes up and it doesn't catch that awning, which will lift it up. It actually gave some air to it, which was, they also had like systems in it that if you try to drive away with it open, it makes an alarm. I mean, it was really pretty swift.
Yeah, the advances in solar panels are quite remarkable. Sometimes we think of them as kind of thick, bulky items, and some of the companies there are, have these real thin, very durable, flexible solar panels now that can cover the top of the unit and can actually be used as replacement. So for the older type solar panels, so there's a lot of technology coming down the pike. Hopefully, it all works and that it can give RVers the experience they're used to with a fuel generation situation. And fuel generators aren't going away anytime soon, but certainly with some of the regulation out there, there is a horizon out there if those regulations seriously do take effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably, what you're saying is there's probably no interest if they do go forward in purchasing something brand new that might be not kosher in a few years.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny about you mentioning overlanding, Phil. Solar's fitting right into that. But I was talking to a major, one of the three major vehicle manufacturers about some things, and we were talking about our show, and they were more. He was more interested if we were going to show overlanding product.
Mhm.
And if you look at their commercials now from all of these, vehicle manufacturers, they're all on the boondocking. They're all in the middle of nowhere. Unfortunately, you don't see them at campgrounds, although, I kind of express that. But they're all by a river, or ocean, or a stream, and that's what they want to show.
Well, I think those images probably evoke more emotion, regardless of where they're actually going camping there or splitting time between a private park and there or whatever their interest is, right? I think it's more about the wow, that's an amazing nature experience.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, campgrounds are beautiful, but
the trouble is the genuine accessibility of that. The actual ability to go camp in a place like that is not very simple, and that can cause some.
You need a $50,000 TV crew. That's all you need. Really.
Yeah.
Like permits from federal governments and all kinds of things in some cases, right? Like there's areas in our parks where vehicles cannot even access. So, to think you can camp there is tough, right? So there is, I know it's a conversation we have with operators at CCRVC all the time, is, the marketing concepts are visually stunning and beautiful, but sometimes cause them concern around
misleading
perception. Yeah.
I mean, not really misleading, but just not.
No, yeah, I think
story of
a consumer wants to go and experience that, and typically that's hard to achieve. Right? That commercial worthy camping experience can be tough to find.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what marketing's all about, right? You're selling the dream, and whether you're selling a sports car or whatever, you're not really going to be driving on wet surfaces doing figure eights in your Acura or whatever it is they're selling. The reality is a little different, but that's kind of where marketing goes. And the fact of the matter is when we look at the data for campers, right? You may be thinking, well, I'm going to take that once in a lifetime trip to the Grand Tetons or whatever it is, but you end up using it with a short trips to nearby campgrounds, and that's the main use of it. So, but it is interesting how we we try to, kind of sell the sizzle, but we all end up using it for meat and potatoes anyway.
Well, and let's be fair, like it's not just the RV industry. You're right. It's everybody that does that through marketing. I mean, I remember seeing the new Ford trucks that would come out towing like a whole thing of concrete trying to stop in 3 seconds. And like, who's doing that? I mean, maybe somebody, but they're not really buying the truck to do that. So I think that's a valid point, Phil. I'm definitely a good point there. So.
But,
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my car, something like on Christmas morning with that big bow on it. I mean, who does that?
Doesn't everybody do that?
Driveway, yeah.
No.
I thought everybody bought their spouse a car for Christmas and wrapped it in a bow.
I always turn those commercials off before they get to the end.
Before your wife sees it, or
Yes.
yeah, no. Okay. All right.
But speaking about marketing, I was doing some research when I was making this pitch to these guys, and it's amazing how many other companies not associated with the automobile business are using RVs in the commercial.
Absolutely.
And it's tremendous to see that they see this industry as attractive to be able to show them in in what they're pitching, which is insurance, banking. There was the one. It was a gambling commercial. It was him relaxing at the end in an Airstream. Like there's just tremendous examples out there, and it's just great to see.
Wait, did he use his casino winnings to buy an Airstream?
No, he didn't need casino winnings. It was just
if your Airstream's there and you have a big gambling problem, what if he bets his Airstream?
I was going to say.
It's dangerous. You have your whole house there, right there. Like, I'll just throw that in the poker chip pile.
Whoa.
Yeah. We digress.
Yes. Yikes.
But you're right, Shane. You're right. It is good to see the mass adoption of it's becoming more. It's always been mainstream, but it's becoming more visible in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I think so.
And maybe it's because I'm in the industry that I notice all these little things. But
well, of course,
it's
I mean that's what. But everybody who's in their own industry notices that stuff too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think once upon a time you'd say you worked in the RV industry, and people are like, "What's that?" Nowadays, I think it's more mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Requires less explanation.
Totally.
Yeah.
What are you seeing for your show, Shane, in Toronto? Do you have any early numbers you want to share with us, or tell us at least if it's good or bad? Or
yeah, we're up so far. I think there's a lot of buzz. It's great to be back to normal. You follow all the Facebook comments, and people were complaining about how last year went, which was in the middle of COVID. So it didn't go so well, and not all the exhibitors are there. So it's just nice. And I'm sure all the shows in the US too will say this. It's nice to be back to normal without having the restrictions. And we're really happy now that Susan's there. We're going to be sending a release out shortly, but we're going to be hosting an RV Women's Alliance meeting during one of the days, and we're really excited about that.
We're excited to be there.
The group, and it was kind of timely. Yesterday, we received this application from this 13-year-old girl who started up her own camping fire accessory store. And she'll be at the store, 13 years old. And,
wow!
We're really excited to have her. And I think we're going to invite her to the meeting. Hopefully, she'll be able to come out and see and meet mostly older women.
You should hire her right now, Shane.
I know, right? I mean,
like that was me. I was hustling, selling baseball cards and mowing lawns or whatever. Like people who do that when they're that young are going to be crazy.
So you mean I should discipline my kid who I just found selling candy at school and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I should applaud him for that.
Oh yeah,
yep.
Future entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, my daughter talks. She's 14. She talks all the time about wanting to be an RV tech, and I'm always like, I could probably get you a job right now.
We're doing all female RV tech classes. She's more than welcome to attend any of them.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see her.
It'd be really cool. Good for her.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we need more techs, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just not squashing those dreams, right? So that 13-year-old must have parents that embraced her idea.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, and that's the whole
Yeah.
thing. Let the child evolve to however, and we're not going to get into a parenting discussion, right? But let the child evolve to whatever they want to be, within a framework, right? That's reasonable, of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
Depends on where they got the candy from, that they're selling, type of thing.
Right.
His own mother who's buying the product that he's profiting off of. So until he has in,
Well, I would argue that that's different though. So he's got that's halfway there.
halfway
Yeah.
there, almost there.
Make him figure out a way to buy the candy and see if he can.
I was just going to say, come up with a business plan for them. This is how you buy the candy, and then this is your profit margin. And
Oh boy,
Great to start them young, that's for sure.
yeah, great.
But going back to what you guys are talking about, I don't know. I'm not getting a feel of what products are going to sell. It's awfully difficult. We there was some fall shows that Eleanor said that the small units were going, the small adventurous units, and now, from what you were saying, Halifax, the bigger units. So it's really hard to, I guess for us, we don't care as long as they sell.
yeah, I was in a meeting today, and they said the same thing. Usually, the smaller units, the lighter units, the stick and tin, as we call them, start to go. But we're not seeing that, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the lenders I was talking to, and they see a lot of RV financing deals across their desk. What they were saying is that some of the smaller affordable stuff is moving, and then on the other side, the high end stuff is moving quite well, because those people are less. The higher price you're paying, probably the less impact some of the ups and downs of the economy might have on your personal finances.
Right.
So they're out there buying, motorhomes, fifth wheels, things like that, and then on the other hand, you got the people that are really looking for a bargain, the affordable stuff, and so that stuff's moving, and that's kind of what they're seeing, where the activity is at the real low end, and then at the high end. So,
well, and that's what I would expect, like coming from outside the industry, right? Like the RV industry, just focused on campgrounds, and this is kind of what we've been telling our clients is that the top 10% of the income earners, the luxury RV resorts, luxury campgrounds, are going to be fine unless the economy gets really bad. And so if you cater to that 10 of the market, I think you're going to be good. And I think, again, the BLM, the overland, the state parks, the cheaper campsites are also going to be fine. And I think the middle is going to be more competitive. I think there's going to be plenty of campers to go around, but I don't think it's going to be as many as 2021. So I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive.
Yeah. And you got to remember, people are still working remote, right? That has not gone away. That continues to go on. And now that people have had the taste of it, they don't want to let go of it. So you have that client out there as well.
Yeah, some of the people up in Canada, the government, I saw, are being asked to go back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering what kind of pushback we're going to see. And
yeah, I think we're seeing that for sure, that people are migrating back to the office. I don't know if it's weather related, that there are fewer people working remotely in Canada than in the US. I mean, it could be, right? Especially in their RV. But we are seeing people sort of go back to that. But I still think, in talking to consumers, you still have people that are wanting to explore their own backyard and not completely comfortable traveling necessarily far away. And so I think, the campgrounds should potentially have a very good year this year. Even though it might be a little bit soft on the dealer side, I think the campgrounds will be busy.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, for all of us, it's tough to follow the couple years that we had, and so keeping that perspective too is important. But it's still great. We're still doing great, just maybe not as skyrocketing performance as the last, 21 especially. So
yeah.
We had to have it.
Totally.
Are you hearing anything from campgrounds, Cara, so far?
Well, yeah, I mean, the majority of them are up here are closed right now, right?
Early reservations, sentiment, things like that.
Yeah, a lot of them are only just opening for reservations for the year, so it's early, I think, to start to say. But I think through last year, even we were starting to see folks book less far in advance. So kind of waiting till closer to their travel dates to make reservations and things like that. It'd be pure speculation for me to say why that might be. But I would guess probably just volatility with the economy and things like that, kind of waiting to see how things go before they make those reservations and stuff. But overall, I mean, the few parks I have had a chance to talk to, are seeing good, numbers, that nothing really out of the ordinary or unexpected at this point. But we'll see. The coming weeks and months will be the big kind of tell. We'll start to have a better idea of how this summer will look.
And hopefully we're going to see the return of international traveling, right?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Shane.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I was just in a couple of Travel Alberta sessions. They are spending some significant dollars and resources to do targeted advertising in Europe and Japan and China and places like that to try to kind of reopen interest in coming this way. And so I think absolutely we'll start to see a return to that. We've also got the rental agency companies preparing fleets in advance to get those numbers back up. They had kind of sold off some inventory and things like that the last couple of years, and now are prepping for things to get busy again. I think they're definitely seeing a huge increase in reservation numbers based on what I've heard here in Alberta. So I think for sure that's a great kind of opportunity for campgrounds specifically that they can harness in 2023.
So what else are we looking forward to for the RV industry in 2023? What's on people's minds? Some goals we have for this year, or things you've heard manufacturers talk about. I know somebody just announced a Starlink partnership. Is that Thor?
Yep.
So I mean, again, interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing? Given I didn't see any more than that. Is it a subscription for a year or something?
I think they're building it into their units, aren't they? Do you know, Phil?
Are they, Phil?
Yeah, that they certain units. I think it was Tiffin and Airstream they're starting with, and putting it in the units, and certainly that gets to the larger point of people wanting to be connected when they're out in their RV, and certainly here in the U.S. we're going to see a lot of investment both at the federal and state level in modernizing campground infrastructure with Wi-Fi and other connected devices, so that this remote from work can happen, as well as just the needs of the everyday traveler, which is certainly when you look at some of the research, that is a big want for travelers, whether they're camping or recreating outdoors. They still want to kind of maintain that connection, and that Starlink partnership is that just reads right into that narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else is new? What else is changing in the industry? RV Women's Alliance, isn't there a report that just came out from you guys, or?
Oh, our 2022 impact report. So it just it's a year in arrears of what we've accomplished in 2022 and what's going to happen in 2023. I mean, one of our big things I said earlier, is the all women's tech classes. And so those have gone nationwide. We did a pilot program in 2022 where we were going to have 12 women go through the RV Technical Institute's level 1 tech class, and we had over 120 applicants. So it just kind of blew us away. So we graduated 24 women out of the Alcart class. So what we decided to do is to take that nationally. We have a Florida, a Dallas, an Oregon, a Pennsylvania, and an Elkhart class this year. And of course, rvwa.org, if anybody, any women out there who would love to take that class. What we kind of learned is you lower that barrier to entry to having it all women. And it's not like I laugh at this. It's not like men go out of their way to make women feel uncomfortable in these classes. It's not that at all. It's within ourselves. We go in these classes feeling intimidated. Well, some do. I wouldn't. But anyways, but you know, it makes them more comfortable. We've followed some of the graduates have gone on to be the female techs, or they worked for they're working at the OEM plant. So we had one woman who owned her own campground, and she wanted to help her customers more, because where do things break down most of the time? If you're not on the road, you're in the campground and something breaks. And so she wanted to have the ability that when her guests are there to, at least through level 1, to go out and be able to help her customers. So that's a really big plus. Of course, we have leadership training and mentorship and educational roundtable discussing all the different parts of the industry. And of course, here's my plug: RVWA is free to its members because of our partners. But there's a lot, and this industry is a wonderful industry to work in, as we all know. It's big but small and somewhat family-like.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how that's changing and evolving. I'm super glad that you're able to start that and have more women feel comfortable.
Yeah. We'd love to see something like that. Oh, sorry, Susan.
Shane, so 2024, we weren't quite ready. I think RVTI wasn't quite ready to bring it up to Canada, but we did tell Stacy at Great Canadian RV that 2024 is our goal to bring those classes up also in Canada, and have at least 2 of them, one on East Coast, one on West Coast, for you guys as well, for all women.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're excited about doing that with you guys.
Are there any opportunities to do, not replace with in-person ever, but supplementary virtual courses to allow more people to attend?
So the RV Technical Institute does have a hybrid where you can do it all online, at least for level 1, and it's relatively really inexpensive. The studies just came out. I'm not sure when and where they released this, but there's one tech for every 5,000 RVs out there on the road, which is just mind-boggling, right? Now we know why everything's so backlogged, and that's kind of giving this industry a little bit of a black eye. So the focus is to get more people trained out there. Level 1, you can do it at your own pace online and then test. And then level 2 is a 3-week program where you can do 2 of the weeks online and then come into town for a 1 week in Elkhart to finish that up as well. So they are trying to work with people. Not everybody can come out to Elkhart, Indiana, especially in the wintertime. So it's a really great program to get involved in.
I feel like I know the answer to this question, but we had a LinkedIn comment here from Rob Nutting that says, "Is there still a high demand for RV techs?" I'm sure it's wishy-washy in Phil's mind, but
Huge.
Absolutely. And the thing about what's going on with RVTI, I'm on the board of directors there, and really tech training and the opportunities to get into the service and service management side even have never been more accessible or affordable, in my view. So whether it's through RVTI, the online training that's available there, the RV Learning Center, which is a RVDA's educational arm, offers 3 online training courses right now, one for service writer advisors, one for parts clerks, and then one for parts managers. And then we have service manager and warranty administrator online courses coming later in the year. So I think between RVTI and the RV Learning Center, the accessibility of these courses is really outstanding. And there's a demand in all these areas at dealerships for certainly techs and for service management people.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was just going to say, and it's never been more affordable, and especially for those, there's this big movement of kids not going to college, right? 1, it's expensive, and 2, they've come to realize there's a lot of jobs out there that you can make decent living at without going into debt or going to college. And RVDA and RVTI, you can start a career with very little investment. It's an amazing way of life that you can get involved in.
What are the biggest, and just from coming from a place of ignorance, right? What are the biggest roadblocks to creating more of these tests? Because you say that a test is coming out later in the year, Phil. What is the biggest? Is it coming up with the questions? Is it figuring out the knowledge that people need, or I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, well, for RVTI and the RV Learning Center use what they call develop a curriculum or a DACOM process. So you have to get the subject matter experts together, kind of pull everything out of them, and then it's got to be synthesized. And in our case, it's the Ohio State University Center for Employment and Training does that for us, puts it all together into learning modules, and then we have to put those learning modules in a learning management software program, and then we have to test that to make sure that we did it the right way. And then you can put the online training together, and then ultimately a certification test to validate the knowledge that they went through. So it is a process, and it does take some time. We're very pleased to have these 3 ready to go, and then we're going to have 2 more following that. And it's not exactly the same on the technical side because you're turning wrenches and things like that. So there's a hands-on part of that is very important as well.
I have a reason I asked that question, and we'll get to it in the last 5 minutes of the show. But
dangling that carrot again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, can't wait for the last 5 minutes.
I know. And I know, Phil, you guys have scholarships, and so does RVTI. So, there's ways to get into it with no money.
Right. And Canada does too, right?
So it's interesting because our program is a little bit different. I mean, first of all, we partner with Phil and the RV Learning Center for the fixed ops courses. So if there are Canadian dealership personnel that want to participate, I mean, it's very affordable. It's $150 US per course. It's a great opportunity. And then RVTI fits in. It's an interesting space because in Canada we have a national apprenticeship Red Seal program. So there's national standards for every trade in Canada. So the RV service technician trade, there's a national standard that was actually just updated. A new one was just released this past year. And then each province has apprenticeship programs, which they're in charge of putting together. And so they have schools, they have ultimately a standardized national Red Seals exam that they have to pass. So similar, we have subject matter experts, technicians, people from the industry come together, develop the curriculum, develop the testing. The curriculum is then given to the colleges to implement so that, the end goal is that. Now it's a 3-year program, but what I tell, it's not available in every province. So what we tell our technicians and our dealerships is, a great way when you're trying to bring people in, especially when we're at career fairs, we're saying, yes, the training may be out in British Columbia, but you can start off with RVTI tech training, right? Because it's available online. Level 1 is a great way to learn about the basics about the electricity and some things like that. So it can be used up here for some of the basic training. We do have scholarships as well. It's kind of after the fact. So I know yours are often before, like if you register for this course, you may have access to it. Ours are actually sponsored by NTP, and we call them bursaries. They're both for technicians as well as parts personnel, and we award them. We have just over $12,000 that we award annually to people in those industries, providing that they've taken the training and passed it successfully. So, again, a bit of an incentive. And, our tax season is just everybody's getting their tax, their T4s and their T4As in Canada and the techs were all like, oh, thanks so much for giving me, this, $1,000. It helps to pay for we get these beautiful stories of how they've used that funding. So things to keep in mind if you're a technician or a dealership in Canada. And there's a huge demand. Yes.
Yeah.
And really, we talked about this before, just briefly. Like, really, the problem is the intricate training with RVs as it relates to the difference between like the abundance of auto mechanics, right? They have to know the individual parts and the differences and things like that.
Yeah, there's about 14 trades, I think we said. In the RV technician trade, there are 14 individual trades. So, you learn to be which encompasses many trades. So if you're a carpenter, you learn carpentry, but in your RV tech, you learn carpentry, you learn electricity, you learn welding, you learn so many different areas.
So my question is let's pretend, and again, I'm leading somewhere of this, but if you have an auto mechanic, right, who wants to maybe go to learn RVs to level up or whatever else, but maybe doesn't have the time, always has to be with his business. If there was a database that he could query, how far of a stretch is it that he could do some of that, 25% of the work of an RV tech? Is it a big stretch? I mean, I'm ignorant, so I'm just asking.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's very transferable skills for auto mechanics, boat mechanics. One of the things that is attractive that we've heard over and over again from existing techs is the variety of work. Okay, they're not doing the same thing every day in a lot of dealerships. Now, that's not true of every dealership, and some people do like to specialize. They just want to work on generators, for instance, or they just want to do collision work or whatever. But for the majority of techs, there is a variety of things that they're working on, whether it's the plumbing, electrical system, hydraulics with slide outs and things like that, or their roof repair. So it's a lot of different tech, skills that are needed to be an RV tech. And the other thing on the other side of it, on the service writer advisor side and parts, we are getting people coming in from maybe they worked at an advanced auto parts place or some kind of a national chain, and they end up for an RV dealer and they find out, oh wow, this is a lot different than working at an auto parts desk at a dealership or at a store. So that's where our training comes in to kind of help them navigate that. And as they take the training, they become more confident in their job. They're more efficient for the dealership. And of course that ends up, on the other end is better customer service. And that's the main thing. But it is difficult to, recruit some of these folks to get them into the job. And that's what RVTI is working very, very hard to do, kind of spread the knowledge about why, this is an attractive field.
Well, I don't think it's hard to sell. They just have to talk to these people, right? So.
Yeah, and some dealerships out there are already certified to train their own technicians, so they can just get a job at the dealership without any of this education, and the trainer at the dealership can certify them in some of the lower levels. Yep.
Right. They use the RVTI training and they have a mentor right at the dealership who does that. So there's a lot of dealerships going to that model. It's the train your own model, because just having somebody qualified walk in the door probably less likely to happen.
So what else is happening in the RV show world, from a consumer standpoint, right? Because we have a lot of campground owners who watch the show too. And we touched on it briefly. We're happy with the attendance. We're not sure kind of which way the model buying is going, but maybe high end and also some lower end with some middle, maybe possibly, we don't know yet, falling by the wayside, at least in the early shows. What else are we hearing, or what do we think the outlook is for 2023 for the rest of the industry?
Their campground should be full.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any. I would bet money on that one. So be prepared.
Okay.
To go back to what you guys were talking about before, there's a tremendous demand about what parts and accessories they can get at the show, like more than ever. Maybe they're not looking for a new unit right now. They want to still shop for one, but they're really interested in picking up knickknacks and parts and everything.
Makes sense, given the amount of RVs that were sold, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
They want to personalize and customize their RV once they buy it. There's a huge trend in that. You see it all over, that people are painting this or putting, decorating it this way, decorate it just like your home. Whereas before they'd buy it and just go camping. Now they accessorize it. So there's that huge opportunity there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's good for the whole industry. The more accessorization they do, because the more you put that personal feel in, the more time you want to spend it.
Exactly. Yep.
At least you would assume so, right? So.
Well, you'd hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
And for the first time too, RVDA and CRVA and CCRVC have all got together, and we have these career booths that we're going to be, for the first time, bringing out to all these RV shows across Canada, or at least most of them. And you need to get face-to-face with potential employees as well. Not only try to sell them some stuff, but maybe they want to work in the industry. So we had our first booth, I guess, in Halifax, Eleanor, and
yeah, we've got
Jerry's
photos, and I think it went really well. I don't know how many. We had some brochures to hand out just to talk about the career paths for all three segments of the industry. And we also go, to career fairs, but here you've got a captive audience. They're already here because they're familiar with one aspect of the RV industry. So why not, give them more information? And sometimes it's not necessarily just the person there that may be looking at a unit. They've got, children or grandchildren, or, it's a great opportunity to capture people who are already engaged with us on some area.
Yeah,
100% makes sense. Is there any move to do that at any of the U.S. shows that we know of, or?
Yes, RVTI is out there doing some of that. Not so much at consumer shows, but at some of the trade shows. I know that they're out there at career fairs, and this is actually just getting started for RVTI, but it's certainly going to be a focus in the future. And I know, we probably all heard stories about people who are in the RV business because they started camping, and it became something that became a career for them. And certainly there's a lot of folks out there that are potential employees because they're predisposed to camping and RV travel.
It was the number one thing I used to hear from guests when I was a campground owner was, "Oh my gosh, it's my dream to have a campground." And and campers, if they're bought in, they love it. I think it's a great opportunity to make that available at the consumer shows. I'm excited to see the booth this weekend in Calgary.
How long does it take to actually take a level 1 course?
Well, you can do it in 1 week.
With studying and everything, yeah?
Mm-hmm. You can do it at RVTI in 1 week. But they offer it online where you can just do it at your own pace. Like if you have a day job, you can do it at night,
Yeah. Well, let's say you studied for the whole thing in advance. How long would it take you to actually take the test?
Oh, the test is
only 2 hours or something. Yeah.
So you could do a live test Shane, you should do a live test at your show. And if they pass it before they leave, then they get a free ticket.
One of the things we found with online learning is it really varies on people's, ability to process information. We've got people who can take our service writer advisor course and all the modules in it within 3 hours, Others take, 5 hours or whatever. So there's quite a wide variance on it. And then some people like to go back and, see what they've, review what they've learned before they move on. But, that's one of the nice things about online learning. It is something, if it's designed right, it is truly self-paced and you're not rushing through it. And you can always go back if you didn't understand something, which isn't always, possible in a live setting.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it depends on how you learn. I'm a hands-on person. Online learning's okay, but I love to be hands-on. And so there's options, it just all depends on, the sky's the limit kind of, COVID really pushed that farther than ever and faster, which was actually a good thing because now all these technologies that push people to be able to access things in different ways. That was coming all along. It just got here a lot faster than we thought.
Mm-hmm. Sped things up for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Technology is here faster than we thought, but we still have 5 minutes. If you guys have something else you want to talk about?
I know you keep on dangling that carrot.
I might just be like inflating it. It might be a letdown. No.
Well, let us be the judge.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else to talk about before we pivot? I was only planning to do it for 5 minutes. No? Anybody else have anything? All right. So if you guys have not heard of this already, we did a little demo of this last show at the end of the show too. But we're going to start a new segment on this show. It's going to be called Camp Vantage, and that's a secret project I'm working on. You guys will know what that is. I think at the beginning of the show a little bit later this year. But the intent behind the segment is just to spend the last 5 minutes of the show talking about technology, and in the beginning maybe a little bit about AI and stuff, because that's where I'm focused on, but just things that can help push this industry forward. And eventually, I think when we launch the business, it'll push off into its own separate podcast. But for now, we're going to start with this. So has anybody seen this buzz around this tool called ChatGPT?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hands?
Oh, yeah.
How many played with it? Okay, Cara's played with it. Susan's played with it. That's it. Shane's seen it.
I have seen it. I haven't played.
All right. So this is basically a artificial intelligence that was built by OpenAI, which is a company in California. It's been around since 2015. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Sam Altman started it. And recently, big announcement, I think Monday, was that Microsoft was already an investor at $1 billion and put $10 billion more into it. And I'm going to show you why. So let's pretend here we're going to take our conversation that we talked about RV techs, right? So I am designing a test for certification, and somebody can tell me if I type something stupid here. I'm designing a test for certification of RV technicians. What are the top 10 things they need to know to properly service a recreational vehicle? That sound like a good question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. See what it does. Somebody can tell me if this is accurate or not.
I can't really read it.
Wow. You know what? It's scary accurate.
Electrical systems and wiring, including DC and AC power generators and inverters, plumbing, heating, propane, chassis and suspension systems, engine maintenance and repair, transmission, drivetrain, interior systems, lighting, appliances, furniture, exterior systems, awnings, slide outs and leveling. Yeah, safety systems, smoke and carbon monoxide detectors and fire extinguishers. So you limited it to 10. If
Oh, yeah. We get 10 more, but let's just do this. Let's say, okay, so let's start with, and we're just going to talk to it like a human, right? Let's start with section number 1. I need to come up with an outline for what this training would look like.
It's a couple instead of come up with, but I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah, maybe. So here's a possible outline for a training program on electrical systems and wiring for RV technicians. Introduction to electrical systems and RVs, overview of concepts, DC electrical systems, types of batteries, understanding DC circuits, safety considerations, AC electrical systems, troubleshooting, safety considerations, generators commonly used.
I'm sorry.
Inverters.
I'm going to interrupt you. The problem, the concern I don't not necessarily personally have, but that I could see coming up out of this is like, you need a human who knows what they're talking about to vet that this is accurate, right?
Of course you do.
And
but this is a shortcut to helping the human give this program, is what I think.
Yeah, and typing it out.
Well, and if you're just curious, instead of Googling it, what do I need to know? Just so you get a better understanding, is this the career route for me? Do I want to learn this? This really outlines it a lot better than
well, and
Google search.
We touched on this last week too, related specifically to like the standard Google search or search engine optimization, where like now you get one answer as opposed to a million results on Google that you have to comb through and filter through and kind of use your human skills.
Well, and we'll get to that, but yeah, this is again, Microsoft invested $10 billion in this tool. They've announced that this is going to come to Bing, and they want to do it by March. So really, this is the future of actual search, which we'll touch on in a second. But let me just finish this real quick and say, like, okay, so I'm the test taker now. So give me 5 examples of multiple choice questions for this section that would test their knowledge. Like, what is the function of a converter? A, B, C, D. Like, it's literally giving you everything. And again, human vetted. Of course, you have to have it human vetted.
Right.
But the ability of this thing to save so much time.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Is insane.
I mean, those are great questions. But if I remember this correctly, how this works is it goes out and gathers a lot of information
It's
out on the
changing
internet.
almost the entire internet up to 2021.
Yeah.
And this is the beta.
Yeah.
But this is here today.
What does that mean?
The beta, it means it's the first version they're just testing.
Yeah.
It's not even as good as it could be.
Yeah, and that's why Microsoft obviously invested $10 billion in it. My son kind of works in this field in some aspect. He's a data miner, so to speak. They also call him, I think, a data engineer. I don't know. But he's seen this coming for a while, and he's still blown away by it.
Tell me why someone should be an RV technician while we continue our conversation. In case you need any marketing points for RVTI, Phil.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like, I got to tell you, it looks like they're pulling some of this stuff right off the RVTI website.
Yeah.
Well, some
And they probably do.
Some they are. Like, I don't, but it's all original. It's definitely.
No, I got it.
Yeah, it pulls it off of everything that defines out on the web. And what amazes me is the speed it does it at.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's incredibly fast. Yeah.
So are they people using this as their like chat bot to answer questions?
Yeah, you can. So this is interesting. I was telling you guys, I think before the show started, but I was reading about the let me find the article, the class that was using this in education. We've seen some problems with this with students writing essays and stuff like that, right? In New York City schools, I think, have banned it and stuff like that. But we saw there's an article here that I can find it from. Let's see if I can share this tab instead. Here we go. Can you guys see that? So Alperovich, I don't know what that is. Yeah, it just popped up in my Google feed because I read a lot about AI. But 5 days in class with ChatGPT, and he's talking about this guy does coding and stuff, and he's saying, everybody had ChatGPT open, which was shocking. The professor made them have it open. And then during the class, he says, 5 days later, I had no longer any doubt this thing will transform higher education. The first use case is that machine filters mundane questions, as one of our students put it eloquently, meaning you can ask the dumb questions to the AI instead of in class, which stops them interrupting the professor, right? The second benefit is you no longer disrupt the flow of class. For example, with a question like, what's an offset or binary file or whatever? Think of it in RV tech terms, right? Everybody could keep up. Another benefit. We had a highly uneven level of technical expertise from no technical to computer science, but everybody could keep up by asking those questions to ChatGPT if they didn't know without interrupting the thing. And then this thing can code. It can do all kinds of stuff. So this is just super.
You can write poems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can write
Poems.
Yeah.
Oh,
write me a poem about being an RV.
An RV
an
tech.
RV tech.
Yep.
It's really good.
This is here today, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Put that on your website.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. And what's kind of nice about that too is sometimes you're in that class and you don't want to ask that question, right? Because you feel stupid. And you could ask a question to this and at least get an answer where you feel a little bit better about what you're talking about.
Wouldn't it be neat if this incorporated sarcasm too, though?
Oh, you can.
Oh,
If you tell it to, it will.
Reason to be an RV tech, but make sure the answer is sarcastic.
I don't know if we want to post that online.
Because who doesn't want to spend their days diving deep in someone else's gray water tank covered in engine grease, all while getting paid a pittance? It's the ultimate combination of glamour and excitement.
That's fantastic.
You just have to give it the right orders, Shin.
Yes. Give me an answer, but make it funny.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's the thing can do literally almost anything that you ask it from a knowledge work perspective. And so the ability for this to save time and make us, there's nothing been like this since the Industrial Revolution. When we took hand sewing and put it into a factory, the internet wasn't even like this. No. And this is coming very, very, very fast. What Cara was talking about is a search engine called, and Bing is going to put it in there, but right now is a search engine called Perplexity that you can ask, like, how do I don't know how good this is, but an RV tech. And instead of, so if I take this answer and I put it into Google first, I'll go over here. I'm sharing, you should see Google now. So how do I become an RV tech? Then there's sponsored stuff at the top, NRVTA, RVTIA, and then I'm scrolling through a bunch of things and clicking links and learning, and it's going to take me a little bit, right?
Oh,
If I
yeah.
do the same thing over here on Perplexity, this is the future of search. It's going to give me an answer.
One. So
One.
I can see a few concerns for me with this. Number one is, are we pushing humans to a place where we no longer have discerning capability to comb through information and decide what's best for us because we're just taking one answer from a robot?
Maybe, but don't we do that already by clicking the first link in Google?
Well, I don't. Maybe you do, but I
A
don't.
lot of people do, though.
Well,
Continue.
and it's if this is actually gathering all that information together and putting it into one thing, then it's more than one opinion, I would think.
Right,
then
it's citing
things
here.
like-
It cites where it got it from.
But things like when we look at doing a campground search on this, how soon does it become a scenario where the campground that buys the ad is the one answer instead of being the right answer? And that concerns me. Who gets to govern and decide what criteria go into choosing the one answer? And so I'm as a human being going to be very cautious going forward with these things. I want to know, are you filtering this with genuine information, or is there somebody deciding these things with dollars behind the scenes, or maybe not even dollars, maybe just, I like this guy better. Who gets to decide? And so those things concern me. Otherwise, I said on last week's show as well, given that this is coming, as an operator of any business, I would be paying attention to how I make sure I'm the one answer. And I'd love to know.
Yeah,
Well,
it's scary. I mean, you got to admit, when you put a human element to it, where is this information, and none of the data is verified, right? And neither is it on Google. But if you went to WebMD compared to, just Joe Blow, who has the same problem, you're going to give a little bit more validity to WebMD.
To completely agree. I said this to Brian the other day as well when we were talking about news articles and things like that generated by AI. I pay attention to who's writing my article, the article I'm reading, because their perspective changes how I perceive that article and the information contained inside of it. So for me, as a human, and you argued with me that not everybody's like that, but I do think a lot of people are like that. And so I think, I do have some concerns about some of this. I want to know that, like Susan said, you can go to WebMD and feel like you can trust that information. But now we're just compiling everything from the internet. So Tommy Joe Blow on the dark web can write whatever he wants. And now it's impacting those search results.
Well, so no, to a certain extent, because they cut off the lower, I think, 50% of the junk content when they're training the models.
But who
decides? But I do share your concerns. I share your concerns. They're very real. We're already out of time. I feel like this maybe validates I should have a separate podcast for this. But yeah, this is the important thing here is bringing it to your attention that this stuff exists and it can help you streamline your workday. The other day we put in Cara's schedule and said, Cara has these 20 things to do, optimize her day, and it gave her a day by day, including eating breakfast and taking care of her kids, even though you didn't tell it to.
Children at this time, if we want to, the robots can just dictate it all now.
And if you don't think it's going to be in a voice assistant, if you don't think it's going to be in your car, if you don't think, where should I? I'm 40 miles. I'm really getting tired. I want to stop within the next hour. What campground should I go to? It's going to give you an answer.
Did you give a 23-hour task day to Cara? Right.
I got her. Did you get done by 6? It had her done by 6.
Close though, really close. Yeah, we tested it out. Yeah, really close.
And then it even built in breaks for her too. So
short ones, hopefully.
Anyway, okay. Thank you guys all. I appreciate you joining us. The whole intention is to spark a conversation and get you guys to play with this. So if you want to, that tool I just showed you is free. Go to OpenAI's website, register for it. It is in free open beta, and you can do exactly what I just did to your heart's content.
Awesome.
So
We're all going to be ready to be tech homes this afternoon.
Yeah.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week on another show.
Thank
Good to
everybody.
see everybody.
You
Bye.
too.
Thanks for watching this episode of MC Fireside Chats, hosted by Brian Searl and Cara Csizmadia. Have a suggestion for a future show or want to see your campground or company as part of an episode? Email us at hello@moderncampground.com. Join us next week for another episode. And don't miss the latest outdoor hospitality news and commentary from around the world at moderncampground.com.